So this is just a piece of steel, but it's a scraper. It has some sort of a little tension in it. It doesn't bend. It bends, but it doesn't stay there. So it has a little spring to it. And the typical thing, if you look at any kind of woodworking thing about scrapers, they say file this perpendicular, right? And then you take this and you go on the edge. You get two edges. I quit doing that. And this one I've used around here, so it's already at an angle. I scrape it at an angle, okay? Something like that. Because then I have one edge that's almost sharp and I can curl it over and it's much better of a edge. So, again.
Do you find the term curl it over?
I'll show you. I'm not going to tell you, I'll show you, okay? So first off, let me start off. First off, whatever curl or whatever is there now, you feel the edge. Actually, so the first thing I do is get rid of what's there. Okay, so this is beveled this direction, right? So I'm going to file off just as flat as I can to the piece of steel. As flat as I can, just flat. Okay, there. It's smooth. There's no edge. And so typically, if I had a longer file, I would go completely on the one file. But there's no good sharp files here that are long, so I'm using a small one that's actually sharp. And I'm doing a slight edge. So otherwise you might get a dip in your scraper, thank you. So right now I am a little tilted. So I'm just going to just file this until it's all uniform. And you can actually feel it. It gets smoother and smoother. The first pass through is pretty rough. Now, if I look at this, I can see that I have no edge. Okay, so we basically have no edge because we cleaned it up first, and then we filed in the direction away from that edge. Okay, I can actually feel a little bit of edge. But then this is a burnisher. It's just a round, hardened steel, round, quasi-ovalish shape. And I want to do it perpendicular now to this edge. And basically just once is all it takes. Careful when you come at the end, you don't do your finger. Now, I have a really nice edge there. Now, on the router, there's a little bit of edge there, right? I saw that. So, I can do this by hand, and you can see how fast that comes off. And if the majority of the scraper is done on the plywood, I'm not going to round over. Okay? And I can do this by hand without having to clamp it down or do a whole lot else. If there's some glue here as well, I can scrape that right off. Sometimes I have to go backwards and hold it with my hand or arm. So virtually a couple minutes. That is the same as the plywood. Flip it over to the other side. Okay? Now, remember with this edge here that we cut might be crooked. Well, we use the table or on the jointer and get a nice flat edge. Then it's square to here. Then we trim it to length or to width. Okay? The length is already cut. Okay? That makes sense? Okay. So this cabinet's been just dry assembled. There's no glue, there's no nails, no nothing. And the issue about how is this cabinet square? So we measure from the outside corner to the outside corner, and we have 35 and a 16th. We measure the other corner, and we have 34 and 15/16. It's an 1/8 difference, or 1/16 difference somehow. So this direction is a little short. Okay, so it really needs to be like that, a little bit more, or like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so it needs to be not much, really, really small amount. Hammer. And if it doesn't fit, get a bigger hammer. So here is two sticks that I use. I use it for a variety of reasons. They keep getting smaller and smaller as you do stuff. So I measure corner to corner, and I make a little mark. Oh, my pencil. I make a little mark right here to know where this corner, this inside corner is. And I put it right there, okay? Now, in the other direction, remember when we measured outside, this one was long by a 16th. So, I'm gonna take this one I just did the mark, and I'm gonna make it shorter by a 16th, okay? Now, I'm gonna actually cut that off, like that, and put a bevel on it, like that. So it comes to a point. Doesn't matter which side it is, usually I do it the same side. Then, once I get glue in these joints, I put this in the middle of the cabinet and slide it down so it's in the middle of the cabinet. I have two the same size, exactly the same size. So I'll do those together, cut them both at the same time, bevels on them. They should pry in there and approximately, and you jam them in until it's relatively square. Once it's relatively square with these, and sometimes what you need to do is like, oh, these are too short. So you take a piece of paper or cardboard and you jam it in there until they're both the same, and then you double check it. Once that's in, then you check it like that. But this is actually after you glue and nail them together. Glue and nail, they're still flexible until that glue is set. So that's the whole point, is you have to have a lot of things ready to go. These you won't know what they are length until you are ready to actually, or after you've assembled. Okay? So, the clamping is nice, but when you do nails, nails really are clamps. Nails and screws are basically clamps. It's not to make it stronger, it's to make it until the glue sets. That's all the glues and the nails and screws. So these are finish nails. Has anyone used finish nails? Anyone not use them? You've used them?
I've used them for
Okay.
different things, not to
Okay.
make cabinets.
And you know how to use a nail set?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't really have to go into that. So, in a case like this, I don't know how to undo these clamps. Like that? Okay, let me show you how I would assemble this cabinet. Okay, you want to undo those sides too? Alright, so here we are talking, we have 4 pieces that all fit together, and that's going to fall over. Okay, so the first thing I would do is, on this side, we know where the top piece is here, but if you're here, you don't know where to nail. Okay, so I would take my tri-square and set it, or I would use my fingers and say, okay, that's the center of that groove, and I would just do a little line there. Okay, so now I know where I'm going to nail. Makes it easy. Okay, so the first thing I would do is, in fact, I might as well do it, and you guys can finish. Okay, so a bunch of glue down there, just like that. Sometimes I would, let me backwards a little bit. Sometimes I would actually do it and nail this first. And not nail all the way through, but put a couple nails so I know about where, just a starting nail. Just to get started, because it'd be a lot easier than trying to hold all of these up together and doing this. Okay, so now I have those things. I have glue that's sitting there. Sometimes I will wipe, get it spread out a little bit more, and wipe my finger.
You don't worry about pushing it up on the edge of the
know.
rabbet.
No, that will take care of itself. So then,
Turn it over to the bottom. Turn it over. Because that price tag we can't get off.
oh, so you want to do it like that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so there we are. This bottom edge, which is the front of the cabinet, should be flush with this one because you saw them at the same time, okay? And it's really close. So I would just assume, just use it like this and say, okay, there we are. So now, what you can do, once you get one nail in, oh God,
Oh, I do that all the time.
there's a reason for that. First off, let's talk about hammers. The reason that when you hammer that it bends over, it's slipping. It's slipping on this face. So,
That means you get rid of the rust.
well, it means you.
Ever use these?
Oh no. So, it looks like someone took this on the grinder, but the idea here is you want a surface that's not smooth. or relatively not smooth. Okay, someone's put that on the grinder, but okay. So if I get one in a little bit, it at least attaches it. I generally will do it like this and take the other piece just close enough there, just like that. It's not going to go anywhere. Now I can bend nails really well. Okay, just flush.
Oh, you didn't go throughout. Hey, you're pretty good.
Just flush, and a nail set, because you can't see it with my fingers there, right in the middle of that, and push it in. Okay? And that's why I draw the line first. I know where to nail it. Okay, this side's in. It's actually easier if you want to hold this piece. Yep, it's actually easier now to do that piece because then I have a nice platform to work off of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where this glue sets up in about 15 minutes sometimes. So you want to quickly assemble these, then work on the square part. Okay, and if your back is actually square, and you could again measure it corner to corner, if it's square, put the back on, nail it down, you don't have to use any diagonals because the back is square.